Welcome again. Let's turn to James. Letter of James. Chapter 4, 13. Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. That's our passage. We detect a note of exasperation when the Spirit, through James, says, come now, you who say. He's finding fault with some of his readers. His readers back then and up till today. There is a tendency, kind of surprising for image bearers when you think about it, to leave God out of our real life plans and language. The fault in this sentence that starts today or tomorrow, we will go there and trade and make a profit. This fault is not in the fact that the speaker intends to do business or make a profit, even if that's a lot of profit. In fact, the Bible assumes throughout that it is man's duty to invest, grow, move things forward, be fruitful. Generally speaking, your house should look better the day that you sell it than the day that you moved in. Quote, Proverbs, in the house of the righteous there is much treasure. Quote, that's Proverbs 15:6. Proverbs 24:3-4. By wisdom a house is built, by understanding it is filled, by knowledge the rooms are filled, by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. Remember that the man who buries his money, who doesn't invest or attempt to increase, is the bad guy in Jesus' parable. So, church, be ambitious. Get the education. Look to make money and then look to make more money. Start a business. Think inside the box. Think outside the box. Invent. Hustle. Burn the midnight oil, network, etc. So, to repeat, the problem James is dealing with is not business or profit. Ready for the thesis or something like the thesis? The underlying problem is planning, acting without reference to God. You got the image-bearing creation, imagining life with no God in sight. This happens. It happens a lot. The image-bearing creation, imagining life without God in sight. Make sense so far? So, I'll give some examples. We get bad notions in our head. For instance, hey, I have an idea. Let's create a secular state where we on purpose never define God and refer to him as little as possible. And we'll do that less and less as the years go by, we'll refer to God. And that's a bad idea. And the kind of thing James is condemning. When a person or a family or a society or a nation makes plans without invoking God, it's the height of arrogance. Can I get an amen? Ben and I were talking about this the other day. I heard about a small town council drafting a letter. And one of the members of the council suggested a sentence that included this phrase, "We wish him Godspeed." And that sentence was struck out. And why? Well, because we can't be bringing God anywhere close to government. And James says, arrogance. How about this? More examples. Hey, I have an idea. Let's create a public serving, free of charge structure to educate the image bearers about reality, and we'll call it public school. And yes, starting at 4 years old, we'll explain to impressionable minds about what is important. We'll tell them how they should act. We'll teach about what has happened before they arrived on the scene and how they should think about the past. But here's the thing. We won't bring up God, the source, or the maintainer at all in any of this education except in the most vanilla of ways. And James looks on and comments, arrogance. Or, another example, why don't we have a business mindset Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and around the house mindset on Saturdays, and then for a couple hours on Sunday, we'll remember God and say some pretty things about him. Or, if we do think about God during the business hours, those thoughts will start and end with, how can I witness to my colleagues? We'll bring a dash of Sunday into Monday through Friday. But the thinking continues, surely, as I work as a project manager, I did this for as I work as a project manager at Eversource, I can't be thinking about how to bring the wisdom and the justice of God into planning power grids, setting prices, constructing bridges. We can't be actively discerning the Creator's will in managing his creation, right? That would be weird. And James says, yes, you can. Figure out how to merge your boss's will into the policies of the Son of Man. Think, what is it to manage people's investments if you're an investment manager? What is it to manage people's investments in the name of Jesus Christ? What does that look like? Think, James says. What is it to load and deliver packages or lumber to fellow image bearers in the name of Christ? And James says, well, put your mind into it. Think. Let your work be deeply Christian. Not just, I want to witness to my colleagues, but your actual work. Don't leave Christ. And actually, let's call him the Christ, the King of Kings, the last Adam, the first and the last. Don't leave him out of anything. To do so is to insert yourself into the spotlight and attempt to crowd him out. And that's arrogant. Yeah? So, okay, I get it. A reader or listener to James' response. I'm going to take JC here as my interlocutor. He responds a little skeptically. Okay, what then? Because he's a public school, he's a teacher right now. He says, what then, Colin? James. Should a Christian public school teacher show up at class tomorrow and lead with, quote, as we learn algebra today, kids, let's remember that it's Jesus, the Logos, who from the beginning was with God and is God, who's behind all the order we see in mathematics. Try it out. That actually would be a great first sentence. But then, unfortunately, it would probably be one of your last. The administration would call you in and say, we can't give preference to any religion. And so, naturally, we're just going to leave religion out of the curriculum, and we're also firing you. And then the guy who replaces you is a dutiful secularist, and the train goes on absent God. So no, JC and others, you hardly ever lead with the dramatic religious move, but rather you think politically. You practice the art of the possible. What small thing can we do to admit into this gray secular environment at least a ray of the truth that Jesus of Nazareth is the resurrected Lord, and God has begun a new creation when he raised him from the dead? That's reality. How can we let that in? And you think hard about that practical thing. And you think hard about the long term, about starting to change the trajectory of things. You scheme with other Christians about how to properly bear witness to the resurrection in an environment that is spiritually thin. But okay, you do all kinds of stuff. But what you cannot do, says James, is to arrogantly just accept that there are segments of life where God can be fenced out. He can be left back. Is that clear? We good with that? Fight me afterwards. Oh, some of that was controversial. I invite your pushback afterwards. Okay, but now let's ask ourselves as we continue to listen to the Spirit, what do you miss? What goes wrong when you leave out God? And James says, verse 14, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. So, for starters, when you leave out God, that simple, obvious, kind of basic reality that James plops into this discussion will hang over you as a threat. You do not know what tomorrow will bring. That will sound ominous. And under that threat, you will either curl up in the fetal position before the unknown future, or maybe even worse, you will attempt to master it. Let me explain. There are people living scared of the unknown future. It's actually kind of the norm. The people living scared of the unknown future because, and this is the insight James gives us, they've lived in the present without God in their language or plans. They're scared of the future because they lived in the present without God in their language or plans. Or perhaps there is a small God in some corner of their thoughts, but the real powers who are ranging freely in their souls are those called economy and crypto and China and the libs and losing my boyfriend and crime stats and bad news and threat of embarrassment. And really, the idea is the future belongs to those baddies. When you haven't done the work of trusting God and worshiping him, when you haven't done the work of making God your refuge, brothers and sisters, and you could be an Orthodox or a conservative Christian, and that could be true of you. When you haven't done that work, the unknown future is a threat. And so you're constantly flirting with this kind of low-grade anxiety. Let me say that again. When you haven't done the work of making God your refuge, you are constantly flirting with this low-grade anxiety, and you're likely a restless sleeper. And many 2 a.m.s find you scrolling on your phone. And so you're regularly a little sleepy. And so perhaps you're turning towards the barbecue chips or doom scrolling or some other stimulant, whatever it is. But here it is. What's behind it all? What's behind it all? Think big picture. The image bearer is running scared of the future because his Most High is not to be seen. He hasn't practiced bringing the Most High in. And the lesser gods that are seen are capricious and cruel. And the idea is God is not your friend. He's not your partner in your life work. And the other gods fill their places. And the future then is scary. Contrast that with this. This is great. With the person Psalm 112 is describing his outlook towards the future. Here it is. I love this. He will not fear bad news. His heart is confident, trusting in the Lord. You hear that? He will not fear bad news. His heart is confident, trusting in the Lord. This passage to me is super insightful. Let me try it again. God, absent from your regular Joe thinking, like off the work thinking, God, absent from your regular thinking, leads you to being threatened by the unknown future, which can present in a low-grade anxiety, but also can present in this kind of fierce, grim planning. James says, you do not know what tomorrow will bring. But not so, says the fiercely planning secularist, the one who isn't used to referring to God in any practical sense. Again, I say this person might be a Christian. For that person, for him or her, tomorrow will most certainly not bring something whether we like that or not. Rather, tomorrow is going to be something that we can completely fashion ourselves. If I work hard enough, if I plan hard enough, if I make this happen, tomorrow will show up according to how I plan for it to show up. Yeah? And you hear people, yeah, I'm getting my electrical engineering degree. They talk about the future. I'm getting my electrical engineering degree, and then we're getting married after I graduate. Yeah, there are tons of jobs in my field, and first-year employees with my degree are making low six figures, and so we'll pay this off, and then 3 years later, and they just keep going. And there's that wise old question. Remember the question? How do you get the Almighty to laugh? You tell him your plans. I recognize there is another sort of angle to be had here. The Proverbs says, a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself. It is good to look down the road and make provision, have a plan, work the plan, head for the target, not be put off by the target. But here, see if you can understand the difference. Here. What is the color? What is the texture of your planning and your overall thoughts about the future? Let me ask you, I'm not going to look at anybody, so I was not putting them in the spot. Are you dating with an underlying grimness? The thoughts are, this relationship better end up in a beautiful marriage or I'll be devastated. If my dad doesn't leave me a good inheritance, I'm sunk. My car has to keep going for 2 more years. James says, you do not know what tomorrow will bring. And the question, that's just true. It's just true. The question is, how do you hear that? Does that sound ominous to you? Is that a fact for you to wrestle and take down? Or because in every aspect of your life you have made God your refuge, you say, yeah, I don't know. Yes, and I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm also kind of looking forward to it. Because you have held in your plans a big God over all life, because you fear God, you laugh, quote, you laugh at the time to come. Yeah, you like that? You laugh at the time to come. A family that honors God in their practical choices, they laugh at the time to come. Looking forward to it. It is an unknown future, but I'm used to trusting God. A nation that honors God because their leaders craft policies with God in mind laughs at the time to come. The future, though unknown, is not a threat. Okay, now we're going to get really nitty-gritty. What else happens if you leave out God from your practical experience, if you relegate him to being a Sunday God? This will hit home. Ready for it to hit home? Step on toes. Let's listen again. So here's a question. What else happens if you leave God out from your practical experience? If you relegate him to being a Sunday God, that you march into your real life absent God. Let's listen again. James says, what is your life? That's what he asked. And although his answer, it doesn't seem to fit the question. James asks, what is your life? And you're looking for some, philosophy of life. His answer it seems too specific. His answer simply has to do with life's transitoriness. Yeah? Or if we wanted to be a little highfalutin, with life's lightness of being, okay? And the idea is that we're consumed with all these, our work-life balance and our bucket lists and leaving a legacy and meeting goals and making a deep impression and being important this, important that. And yet the true metaphor of our lives is something that's so lightweight, so filmy. James says it is a mist that appears for a little time. What is your life? And James says a big thing to say about it, what your life is, a big thing to say about what it means is that it's vanishing. A lady lived where Tanya lives, and occasionally she lets me in. She lived there for 50 plus years before we arrived. I couldn't say her name. I don't know it. The neighbors have never told me their name. They don't seem to know it. She's just gone. Here's another image the scripture gives us. I'm going to quote. Just listen from Psalm 103. As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over it and it is gone, and its place knows it no more. Its place knows it no more. Like, who was that? Who? Transitoriness. Again, it's just a fact. But when you're accustomed to living your real life away from God, your impermanence, it will drive you crazy. This is important. So, yes, human, yes, family, yes, society, yes, nation, yes, world. If you leave God out of your practical experience, If you don't do the work of seeing him in your real life, your mortality will more and more trouble you, and eventually it will terrify you. See 2020. Arrogantly leaving God out of all your plans and verbiage, which might for a time just seem like, yeah, of course, that's what people do. It will eventually catch up to you. The terror of leaving God behind will eventually catch up with you. I'm going to keep going. Please hunker down. If you're not tending to worshiping, to believing in a big God over all aspects of your life, making certain and being assured that you are at one with him as you get into your 40s, you'll see, young people, you'll see. You think this is something that old people say, you'll see. Actually, Hunter said the other day, I said they're having a lunch over at their house, and I was saying, I don't know if I should come and be with the other, young adults, all crimp your guys style. And he says, no, he said, everyone's welcome. He says, but you're so old, I don't want you to die while you're there, and then I have to deal with the body and so forth. Like, oh, thank you. Yeah. What a comforting guy. He and Josh Prouty are they're the ministers of comfort in the congregation. Anyway, this is true. If you're not tending to worshiping, believing in a big God over all aspects of your life, making certain you're at one with him, you get into your 40s and then your 50s. And then as each birthday arrives, as you arrive to the same decade of your life as your parents were when they died, as you start to see your friends and your siblings succumb, your thoughts will be overwhelmed with fear of death. From professional experience, I can tell you there are Christians, like been in Christians for a long time, whose thoughts are consumed with their physical condition and with noticing and reacting to every sign of deterioration, however faint those signs are, who are regularly brought to panic that they're about to go. Contrast that, though, with the verbiage of just listen to Psalm 91. This is something else. Psalm 91. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. The Lord says, because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, the Most High, because he holds fast to me in love, I will deliver him, I will protect him, because he knows my name. That's kind of the heart of the sermon right there. Because he knows my name. You hear that? Because he knows my name. Let's drop some truth here. Ready for some truth to be dropped? The Lord has numbered your days. Again, the young people are like, yeah, that's fine, I don't have no problem. He already knows. He has decided, he has not just knows, he has decided your day of death. Some people think that each year on the calendar day that you're going to die, so March 6th or whatever, if you're really alert, you're going to feel a chill pass over you on that day. Okay? Wait for the chill, but whatever, doesn't matter. God knows. Other facts, ready? For the most of us, our death will be preceded by weakness, by a fair amount of needle poking, getting undressed in front of strangers, people forgetting to check up on us, or at least society kind of just rushing on. I mean, they're going to keep doing their thing. Physical pain, loss of memory and other faculties, smelliness. And for all of us, the moment of death will take us by surprise. Nobody, like, even if they're hit by a train, well, of course they're hit by a train, but if you've been declined for a long time, you're still like, oh, wow, I'm surprised. Also, none of us understands death. But what we will truly experience as we cross over, and what is that going to feel like? What is that like? It's Shakespeare called it the undiscovered country. Yet, okay, here I'm keep following this thought. It's a slowly developing thought. Yet God knows all of this. But here's the question. Do you know that God's name? That is, do you know what kind of being he is? Have you learned? And you don't turn it on. It's like, it's not a switch. Have you learned over time to trust him? Here it is. Listen, please, brothers and sisters, especially you older folks, like age 51 and up. Are you assured in the fact that God is for you? But I'm saying, yeah, in the sermon and Sunday, everybody's smiling, like, oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm saying at 3 a.m. when you think, oh, is that my chest tightening? Are you assured that God is for you? Is he a loving and wise father that you know I am at one with? I'm at one with him. I am confident. Are you at peace? You might not, it's not enjoyable, but are you at least at some level at peace with the notion that the whole process of dying and death and the whole fact of transitoriness is part of God's plan for you now? It's like God is doing something with all that. Or, that would be good. Or, because we've lived with this God merely as a slogan, as a religious idea, we've lived with him carelessly or formally or Sundayly only. We haven't gone about our days in communication with him. We haven't struggled to discern his will in our ventures and adventures. We could be enraged or be terrified at this God who would allow in such pain, such loss, such tragedy, and such mystery surrounding all of it. And panic could set in. Brothers and sisters, does panic set in? It's not a question you just think on your own. Am I someone who regularly, terror is not too strong of a word. And I say, here's the encouragement that we have time though, but you have to start now to get rid of our Sunday only God and to come to believe and worship the God of all reality, over all reality, who is over needles, over sleepiness, over progress, and over regress. We have time now to learn how to hold fast to this God in love, to trust him in the small setbacks so as to be prepared for the "are you sitting down" phone calls. And I know we talking about there are always tensions or different angles, different sides in every lesson. Even as we actively entrust our decline and our dying to God, we should also, as the poet said, rage against the dying of the light. Yeah? Don't like the fact you're dying, rage against it. We should hold on to life as a great gift and scornfully occasionally look down on our enemy death. We should regret leaving loved ones, and we should have done our best to provide for them, both examples in money if possible. Husbands, do you have your life insurance policy? Yeah. My son, Ben, likes to remind me, he likes to quote this verse to me, that a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. And so, yes, we should keep moving as long as possible. We should practice moderation in drinking alcohol. We should not be addicted to tobacco or to any substance. We should get good sleep. But here it is that James is presenting us with the inescapable fact: to be human is to be vanishing, and in a way is to be lightweight. What we should do with that fact is to lay hold of the eternal, to find God. Not just as a password or as like a slogan, but to do the work. This is work of living before him Sunday through Saturday in your ventures and adventures, mulling over his ways in our professional life, in our leisure, coming to conclude. We only have a short time, brothers and sisters, to come to conclude that he is deeply good. We only have a short time to be convinced that he is the rock of salvation. And so this is the work of God, that you believe in him and the one that he sent. Don't leave God out of any part of your life. Bring him in. That is, deliberately speak him and his commandments into every corner of your internal and your external experience. Investing, selling, emailing, grieving, whatever. Young people, do the work now instead of embracing this tide of arrogant secularism. Do the work now so that later you're not overwhelmed and terrified of the future that brings who knows what, especially that you're not living your latter days in kind of a secret terror or in quiet desperation because occasionally your chest is hurting or you've forgotten what you went upstairs to grab. And James says, okay, there it is. Now that you realize it's not enough to just do the right thing, but the right thing must be done with active faith in God, looking for his will. Now that you know what to do, to not trust God with your whole life is just more, even if you're doing good, fine things, it's just more of the same falling short of good image bearing. And so glorify God, humans. Bring God into all of your language and plans. I'm just going to add somewhat random, quick pastoral words here. Ready? Were you ready? It's just some bullet points. To the end of doing the work, putting in the time of trusting in God, learning to not be afraid of him or his will. Quickly, number one, keep a clean conscience. How can I live before God confidently? Keep a clean conscience. Confess your faults to one another. Tell somebody where the bodies are buried so that you're not carrying around secrets that, at least in your mind, will distance you from God and turn him into a threat. Number two, brothers and sisters, take seriously those habits and environments that create psychological distance between you and God, and stop and just say to yourself, I'm a simple man. I obey God and keep open channels with him. That's what I do. I'm a simple man. I obey God. I keep open channels. And if something's getting in the way of that, just stop. Think through. Number three, think through, discuss what it would look like to be a Christian, for instance, HVACer. I'm sure Josh and Chris, they are brothers-in-law. They both do the same work. I'm sure there are been tons of late night conversations. How do we bring Christ into HVACing? Do we cut the sheet metal, differently from those pagans? Do I store the circuit boards in a different place? All right, well, if not that, then what is it, Josh and Chris? You can tell me later what you've already found. But here, to all of us, how is having Jesus Christ as the Uber master affecting your professional life? Yeah? That question prepares you for dying without terror. We're almost done. Say no to being a Sunday Christian. Don't have a church voice or a church smile. Go with God deliberately throughout your week. And then finally, understand that you're an embodied spirit or a spiritual body. I don't know which one is which. That was the doctorate degree, okay? But you're an embodied spirit or you're a spiritual body. This is important. Your creaks and ailments and decline and doctor visits they are the stuff and the theater of spiritual battles. God's Spirit, as he ever does, is leading you to say Abba throughout, to trust God as your great and wise Father. Growing up in Christ is to be assured of sonship in every situation because of your adoption. The devil, on the other hand, is aiming for you to feel alone and terrified in your bodily aches. He is aiming in your mind for God's ways to seem like a menace. And I want you to understand, in your physical condition is where battle is joined between the forces of darkness and the forces of light. That's what it means to be a human, to be a temple of God. Let's be quiet now and think about what we've heard.